Yesterday, 27th of July 2020, was my 11th anniversary with what is now Vonage, but was what was NewVoiceMedia. I thought I'd tell a short story, and that story actually begins the day after, so 11 years ago today, when we were doing some sales training, my second day in the business, and who should turn up to do that sales training but Fergus Gloucester. Now, I'm holding this book behind the cloud, Mark Benioff's Story of Salesforce, and if you turn in this book to page 170, and it's play number 76, that's the point where Mark Benioff talks about how Salesforce was founded or set up in Europe, and how as one of three people, Fergus Gloucester was the person who did that. By the way, there are 111 plays in this book. That's a significant number. If you don't know why, somebody should comment. If nobody does, I will. Not long after that meeting with Fergus in our offices in Basingstoke in the UK, we started discussing a possibility. I think a paper had been written by a product manager called Joseph Masali, but we'd started discussing a possibility of integrating our solution with Salesforce. Now, our solution was already and always had been a multi-tenant, cloud-based software as a service contact center solution, addressing a market largely in the UK, and we set about building that integration. It was done very quickly, and the person who built it, a developer still with us today, Tom Fairweather. I remember discussions we had about whether we should use the CTI adapter, which was software you had to download and would only work on a PC, or whether we should build our own integration to Salesforce, which we did, as a forerunner in fact of OpenCTI. I'll come to that a little bit later. One thing hiring Fergus onto our board helped us to do was open doors at Salesforce, and Mark Dunn, who was a colleague I worked with, just joined sales in fact, and I were tripping out to Dublin a lot, demonstrating and presenting our solution to the Salesforce team in Dublin. One of the people who heard one of our presentations was Bridget Charmond. She's still with Salesforce today. She is a senior area vice president, still based in Dublin. And she referred us to one of her customers, Advantage Healthcare, a lady called Dawn Lee. And I remember receiving an email late in November 2009 from Dawn saying, "We love it, we'd like to select you as our partner for the CTI integration to Salesforce." Our first customer. One of the next things we did was our first external hire, an ex-Salesforce employee. I've been looking after marketing at the time. I'm not a trained marketer at all, and we needed some help. Fergus recommended somebody who he'd hired and who'd ran for 9 years, since 2000, customer marketing for Europe at Salesforce, Amanda Fennell. And she joined our first hire to the team, the executive team, in November 2009. The next things that happened were early 2010. We were looking for some investment, and around April time, in fact, two things. We got our first investment from two companies. There was Mark Farmer from Eden Ventures, a long-time friend of mine, and Eden co-invested with a gentleman called Chris Topman from Notion Ventures, the Notion family. At the same time, Fergus was encouraging us strongly to get on the App Exchange. That's quite an onerous security test that certainly you had to do at the time. And we got on the App Exchange and got our first customer feedback around April, May time in 2010. Now, if I turn to the back of this Behind the Cloud book, The Fabulous Story of Salesforce that Mark Benioff wrote, and look up some of the people who Mark Benioff acknowledges as being instrumental in helping him at Salesforce. A number of those feature in our story too. So Sue Goebel is called out, and she was running professional services globally. She was a long-term supporter of our work at NewVoiceMedia. Steve Garnett was the chairman of Salesforce in Europe, and he was instrumental in helping us set up our foundation. Rob Acker opened so many doors for us in Dublin. He was running part of sales for Salesforce in Europe. For family reasons, he moved, many of you will know, back to or off to San Francisco, and he now is the CEO, of course, of the Salesforce.org philanthropic element of Salesforce. Frank van Veenendaal was the Chief Sales Officer for Salesforce, subsequently went on to be the Executive Vice Chairman of Salesforce, and joined our board as another non-executive director in 2015. So we were amassing a fantastic cohort of influential people from the industry and from Salesforce particularly. Other people who had very senior positions at Salesforce and have gone on to do fantastic things: Dominic DiNardo, who ran all of sales engineering globally for Salesforce. Matt Tucson was running European Service Cloud sales and joined us as our Chief Sales Officer. And Robert Gavin, who, when I met him, was running alliances in Europe for Salesforce, went on to a similar role in Marketo and joined NewVoiceMedia and is now leading Vonage's alliances and business development function. This year would have been my 12th Dreamforce in a row. Sadly, if you're watching this and it's later on, it's 2020, nobody is really traveling anywhere, so that will probably be a virtual event. I think it was the second Dreamforce that I went to, maybe the third, when I met the Service Cloud product management team, and specifically Larry Robinson and others in his team, Gautam Vasudev, who's still there today. And in those meetings, we were demonstrating the solution we built, just using the API and not the CTI adapter. Well, going back a long way, but in the result of those demonstrations was the eventual development by Salesforce of a platform that everyone's using today called OpenCTI. I think at my fourth or fifth Dreamforce, I had a surreal moment when I was with some colleagues standing on the sidewalk in San Francisco, and who should be about 100 meters along the road was Mark Benioff himself with his security guard behind him. I thought, I'm just going to go say hello. Salesforce Ventures by then had invested in NewVoiceMedia. What a charming person. I'm sure he's very dynamic to work for. But him meeting me as a partner, but also a customer, we spent 20 minutes just talking, and him asking me loads of questions about what did I think of all things Salesforce. It was a great experience. To finish this story off though, in November 2018, NewVoiceMedia, which I would call it our second age actually, so the first age up to the point where we got some external investment and discovered Salesforce. The second age, when we hired people to our board, we were invested and we grew and grew. And the third age for us began, in my view, in November 2018 when we joined Vonage. Now, Vonage is a global business headquartered in the US, listed on the NASDAQ. And we joined Vonage along with some other very smart acquisitions that Vonage had made. So initially Nexmo, the programmable API part of the business. So you take any phone number, you can push it through a platform where, using APIs, you can take advantage of any kind of service anywhere. And do very clever things with phone calls. Vonage had also acquired TalkBox, the video API business, NewVoiceMedia, and then last year, Over AI. So an AI business bringing bots, strictly called customer service assistants, to this portfolio that now integrated provides us with something way beyond just a simple integration with Salesforce. And I still passionately believe that NewVoiceMedia built and still has today the best integration with Salesforce. But you combine that with the scale and the infrastructure from Vonage itself, the core part of Vonage, the capabilities of programmable numbers, the customer service assistants or the bots from Over AI, and the video API element, and we have a world-class solution for organizations and businesses really looking to now what is, it's not the future, it's today, a combination of all those capabilities. I think is unbeatable. To finish this story off though, I started with this book. If you go to the acknowledgements of this book, there's another person that Mark acknowledges, the Chief Strategy Officer for many years of Salesforce, Tien Zhu, who went off to found and become the CEO and chairman of Zuora, the subscription billing company. Tien joined Vonage's board very recently. I think a fabulous person with such credibility. The future is fantastic, and I am still, after 11 years, incredibly excited and passionate about what we can do for businesses.